Hello everyone. I would like to read a poem this morning, and this actually I'll likely attach a secondary message which will be part of the Messages to the Masculine series, which I don't think I've added anything to since at least 2019, but in any case, here goes. This one is for those of you who may still be healing, which is all of us really, right? The inner masculine and or the way that masculine energy interfaces with the world. And this poem is based, it's rooted in my own heart and soul, and just really felt very strongly in terms of sharing this and a message that will follow. The poem itself, apologies for the noise outside, but I'm going to stay outside to read. The poem itself is called After the Storm. There will be a shipwreck, and you will face the stormy sea, and think it may swallow you whole, and the storm take all those you have so loved. But take heart, my love, try to see, to remember only the best moments. Even if you wholly have forgotten me, you will yet live. I remember it as if it were yesterday, never mind the seas of time. Your ship had sailed by then, and when it happened, I did not know, as I fled to the forest alone. Yet, through the wind's howl, I prevailed, and ever, for whatever reason, believed in you, wanted you to live, in spite of all the death, and even in moments that became years when I could not catch my breath, I would yet live. Though you had taken everything from me before you sailed back home, then again loaded the ship so methodically, and like a captain called his crew, inspiring them in the way you do. Still, I held you in my heart, and when I saw the storm that came for you, somehow I found the strength to stand and beg for mercy, admittedly as much for me as for you. It was the only hope to keep any hope alive in me, to honor that was also true, which was my love for you. You will yet speak to Caesar. You will make it back to Italy, though I may not. And what of freedom? What of love? This I whispered as I drowned in my own sea of sorrow, lost to myself. My spirit gave out, and birds flew fast to me and sang me to sleep. 3 days passed, and I wailed, caught up in a nightmare that was all too real. The teacher gone, the child gone, you gone. I did not want to live, but God did exactly what he said he would do, and kept me alive too. I saw your ship sink, and with this my heart sank too, and I retreated to the cave. I did not know for years whether not only I, but the world had lost you. All was darkness, all was night. Though I would not see you, I heard the stories, and my heart found a sliver of something good in the way you cut loose that precious cargo, and without the light of sun or stars, knowing the ship would be cast upon some rocky shore, remembered the light of God in you. And I rejoiced in the Lord, always holding on somehow to this one thing at least we shared. Look, love, what happened then. Spain, and all the rain across the plains mainly were mild. All the rivers ran wild. You had your moment of triumph. Before the bitter end, 5 years after the storm spit you out on the distant shore. The news came to me too late in that day, in that age, and the world did lose you as I had. And what now of freedom? What of love? Here and now we have our Neros and those who practice treachery, anarchy, and debauchery, who inflict acrimony and agony. And there you are, having survived a storm. I see you building a proverbial fire, just trying to rekindle the flame of faith. No viper that emerges may harm you. Rest now if you must. Make whatever house you're in your home, and keep the faith, my love. Your story does not end in the storm. Unhindered by fury or fire, I have no doubt you will rise up, like a lion in my heart. And whether you sail again or take up the pen in this new day, the dawn of this new era, there is but one thing I wish to know. What now of freedom? What of love? Hi, it is Dawn, and it's nice to connect again. I just hope that whatever storm you may be weathering, that you are doing so with the utter faith and conviction that somehow all is well and you are well, and that you will not only survive this storm, but this storm will refine you and will make you more than ever connected to what matters most, which is the light of God and the life of God and the love of God alive in you and expressed through you. You know, I first felt compelled, for reasons beyond my understanding then, to do what little I could to try to speak to the masculine within each of us. This includes those in female and male bodies, regardless of anything else, actually. And it also includes the feminine and the masculine in all of creation, in nature. And I first felt just this strong impulse to share around this topic. Really, the first time was in 2009, February of 2009. I won't go into the details, but it was extremely strong, and I knew it was important for the collective. As much as I do have sometimes a foreshadowing or an understanding of trajectories and potential timelines, at that time I could not have foreseen how the world has changed to such the degree that it has in these, what has it been, just a little over, 12 years, maybe 12, 13 years. And so I felt this urge. I had to speak. And so at first I was like, no way am I gonna, I actually did have the impulse I should just do it on video, and I was like, no way am I doing that. It's a difficult time in my life. Had been a continuation of a difficult couple of decades, but I just actually I'm not going to share the details, but I had come through another challenge, another storm in my own life that crashed me against the rocks yet again, and I could see the pain, I could feel the pain inside of me, of that wounded inner masculine that honestly has never in my own life been, it's either been a complete rejection of the feminine, so therefore an unhealthy, unhealed masculine coming out in me, or at times in the past in particular, or it has been floundering. Like, I'm not sure I understand that at all, and just almost, the times when I've tried to master anything that is more practical and grounded in nature, in terms of particularly in terms of the way that 3D reality works here on planet Earth, it's been an utter failure. And despite, I've learned a lot, and I'm actually, I've become quite adept in some ways at particularly at guiding other people to break down steps and have strategy and build a foundation. And I often know those pieces for myself, but again, for me it's been a floundering. So, point being, when I got this absolutely insistent call in 2009, it was completely, utterly nonsense to me. By the way, a butterfly just flew by, and I want to say, so I was trying to fight against this idea of sharing messages to the masculine. I was like, who am I? Like, I certainly don't understand men, period, but particularly those who come from that, call it what you will, patriarchal or very, dominating kind of energies, and don't seem to be aware of the actual nature of reality. But that was my judgment, okay, at the time. And so at the time, I thought, no way. And so, butterfly, yes, I remember what I was saying. So in 2010, I'm still struggling against it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do a video. I actually did record a bunch of them, but deleted them one after the other for years, at least 3 years. But the butterfly, in 2010, I was actually working on a client project. It was an annual report for a nonprofit organization I was working with, and I was going through my own, inner conflict and turmoil. So I had lost a job / left a job in 2009 after a year and a half of, summoning that inner masculine as I knew it, and, paying off my car, doing what was necessary at the time to try to step in and do what I could to essentially to save the situation that I was in, which was my longtime life partner was in a wheelchair and unable to work, and my son was in middle school, I believe, at the time, and we had almost lost the house, and it was barely hanging on. And so I summoned my courage. I did what I could, and I did well in terms of, I paid off the car loan. I did the best that I knew how to bring to the position that I was in. It was, very for-profit endeavor. But, I brought the skills that I had to that and contributed in the way I could. And so immediately, let me just back up and say, I may have shared this in the past, but for those of you who didn't listen to that video years ago, so I was driving to work in February of 2009, and I used to love a Christian rock band called Third Day, and they had a song called Revelation. I think is the name of the song. Give me revelation, show me what to do. And I was driving to work thinking, I know I'm supposed to be making these videos, but I have to do the right thing, and blah 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 blah. I was operating from all I had seen of any potential use of that more masculine energy, or doing my best anyway. I'm sure that I had somehow seen other alternatives, but I honestly can't remember many of them. And so I was doing that, and I was like in really inner turmoil. And so I'm listening to this song, and it's something to the effect of, give me revelation, show me what to do. And literally, I got to work that morning, and, there had been the economic kind of downturn, the housing crisis and stuff, and which was also affecting, so many of us. Boom, job gone. And then all kinds of other, craziness. But I knew God was saying to me, no, you must speak. So I did not want to speak. I did not want to say what I knew needed to be said to anybody, not even to myself. Literally, I would write it in a journal, tear it up. I certainly didn't communicate it to many people at all in my life, with the exception of my long-term partner. I can't remember if we were married at that time or not. But in any case, he was with me through this life for 30 plus years, and I miss him very much. And he also was very wounded by the ages that have been these 2,000 years, and the absolute, I hear a lot of feminists, for example, and that's not a label I'm using in a derogatory sense, but a lot of people who are very passionate, right, either about feminism as a cause through the last several decades, or about the return of what many call the divine feminine. And I hear a lot of those same people, though, talking in such a way that they seem to emphasize the rape and the plunder and the absolute abominations that have occurred against particularly women and children, and that is true. And if you followed me, you know that I have spoken to those things at times. And yet, you know who was equally harmed, if not more so, is the spirit of the divine, pure masculine within each one of us and across the collective. And if you look around our world right now, you will see that that is at the root. It's the rotten core of so much of the ways that we live, from the just egregious acts of war and poverty and all of that, and harm against individuals, against animals, against nature, against just ourselves. It's insane. But beyond that, what's really been lost is the strength, the fortitude, the heart of the lion within every one of us. And when I know I'm all over the place, just forgive me. Just stay with me. If you're watching this far, just stay with me a few more minutes, 10 or 15. So back in 2010, to take it back to when I felt compelled to say some of these things, it was so foreign to me. I did begin to talk to, my life partner, Tim, and he, in his wisdom, and he was a man of peace. And he actually, I would say, had such a grace about him, such a wisdom and an understanding, and was able to see things, and yet also had, his own blind spots. And he too had been very wounded by this lack of any sort of healthy stream of strength and love and power. And the power and the love, they go together. And they're at the very heart of what it means to lead with love in the physical world in particular, and to operate from a place of fidelity and loyalty and respect and honor, goodness. And so back at that time, 2009, 2010, we were coming into 2010, I was doing a few consulting projects to try to just basically stay afloat. And it was really difficult, because I felt like I had failed, once again, in that everything was slipping through my fingers. And I know that some of you who are watching this may understand that from your own perspective, because you have carried so much, because the world has skewed everything and made you and I to feel like. So when I say from my perspective, it was more all of the strength of what it means to have that mystical connection to nature, and that love and that gentleness and that grace alive, and the joy of beauty was also denigrated in me, and that is in my way of experiencing it a part of what it means to bring in that life force and the seed of creation, and to celebrate it. And in the same way, I saw then, and I would have these conversations about how I felt compelled to speak about this, but I had no frame of reference. Like I said, it had been a challenge. Any kind of grounded strength in the physical world had been a huge, enormous challenge for me. And so who was I? There was all of that going on, but there was also this sense that I hadn't made my own journey with it, and I had to do that. But what happened was, so I was working on this nonprofit project, and I was supposed to be doing I did an annual report, and something happened in a conversation where there was an example around the table of one of those very dominant patriarchal all-consuming energies that was dictating, and I was like, no, I don't want to be a part of this. And so I actually backed out of the project, and turned it over to someone else. And I mean, I did it as gracefully as possible, but I just didn't want to be around it. But I knew at the time, that also added to something that would have been a significant amount of resources for my family, and I didn't have any other alternatives, and it was very difficult. And yet I just knew I had to do it, and it was all a part of the plan. And I see now, like, I do wish I had made some of the earlier videos much earlier, or saved them and shared them with you, but I did not. But I took that annual report that I had worked on. Somebody else did the final one. The project was scrapped, and I took it and I turned it into my own thing, and I put butterflies on the cover, and it had said 2010 was the year of the annual report, so it had 2010 really big. I put butterflies, and I put a time for transformation across where their theme had been. And then I did the interior that I had created, this nice design, and I changed it all. And I remember, I don't have that anymore. I would share it with you if I did, but I remember on the inside I had a picture of a lion, which many years later in France in 2016, I saw the statue, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's the lion from my little annual report that I made in 2010. And what I wrote beneath it was something like, and I don't remember the exact phrase, but it was something like, may all with lion hearts rise and inhabit the earth again. And that was my way of, just honoring what I knew was alive in me in terms of these messages, which I have been ill-equipped to share, by my own admission. And I've done so very, mostly to the best of my ability, but very, it's very messy. Like, I don't even know sometimes what I'm saying. And so it would be really 2016 until I shared the messages publicly. Before that, I did begin in small ways to begin to speak when I needed to speak, as gently as possible with people, either that were in my life or where I was put in a position to be able to share from my perspective. And I began to feel more and more in those years between 2011 or so, or 2010, I guess, when I did that little annual report. Also, it was sort of like save the world, and oh my gosh, I think I underestimated it, because I was like, we need to do this now. We can't wait 10 years. Compare 2010 to 2020. What? I don't even know. I don't know how it happened. I can't make sense of it, but yes. So something in me knew back then, and I began. So it would be 2016 before I publicly started sharing anything at all. And I think it was mostly 2018 or 17, perhaps, when I was sharing a lot of those messages. And I was doing it from all the information I had at the time, and from the context of both my own observations, my own journey, and reflection around me, both in the world at large, collective level, and in individuals, and so my own experience, also my own internal experience, as I mentioned. And so I began to share these messages, not really understanding exactly, what it was all about. And then when I was in France, which was first in March 2016, and then November of 2016, I did have a number of experiences in terms of places that I was led to, and also in terms of more mystical / otherworldly moments. I kind of think of it as if I was aware. I think this happens all the time, but I was aware of the parallel dimensions of experience, if that makes any sense at all. And I could see even more the urgency. In a way, I wish I had seen the exact urgency, but I did not. But I did feel it. And so I began to do a little bit of healing behind the scenes. So I did share the videos when I got a message to share, and otherwise I would do what healing I could. A few directly offering, used to share both soul shower blessings, and also I would connect with those who reached out that I felt led to respond to. I did not feel that in every case, and it does not mean that I did not care if I did not reach back out. It's just I had to kind of completely go on intuition. It was difficult to navigate because I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't really understand, but I did know that a lot of the healing, particularly when I was in various places, the biggest experience was in France, and it was in March of 2016, and a particular location I was led to that had some historical significance, although not recorded to my knowledge, in the historical record, but it did. And there was a soul shower blessing that I was led to do in France in March. I believe it's March 2016. It could have been November, but in any case, it was about freedom, and it was an activation. And I was aware at the time it was a reconciliation with the land, and it was for the collective of humanity. But I could feel how it was to open each of our hearts to the masculine, the true stream of masculinity. And those words always, they always feel like they're not enough. Femininity and masculinity, this is just my own, they are enough, but in my own feeling is they don't go, it's because we have defined them as we have, and all these descriptors and delineators and definitions that we give things here, that's exactly what I'm saying. That is a part of where we've gone wrong with this. And I'm sure that there are philosophers out there who can speak to this, or do speak to this, likely. That's not my area, but I just became increasingly aware of how huge this is. And so what I became aware of in the France, I think the activation was something, it was definitely about freedom, and I believe it is, you can access that free if you go to Faithscapes, go to my website, dawnrichardson.com, click Faithscapes. It's in the Magdalene Journey, and it's somewhere. You may have to opt in. It may be in the activation series, or it may be just a video there, but it is it is that activation if you would like to watch it. It is potent, so do not do that if you're in a vulnerable state. But when that happened, it was very clear to me. I was very aware of what the challenges were going to be in terms of each of us overcoming these insane definitions that have been passed down, and I really don't understand where they even came from. I'm like, what? I remember when I was a child, and I was like, what is this world? Like, what is this? And it wasn't just that sort of weird, kind of ownership, like that energy. I can't even describe it, but it was a lot of that. It was a lot of that, the harshness and the detached. It was like the healing in terms of the masculine. It's like a literal cutting off from self, to the degree, for some masculines. I'm not speaking about all males here. I am seeing the inner part of us, of all humanity, and of each one of us individually. It's as if we are so fixated on the age of separation and again all these divisions. It makes no sense to me. It never has. And I began to become more and more aware of this. And so in 2016, with that activation, I saw for the first time the collective ramifications of that system of understanding ourselves and the worlds. And what I want to say is it was beyond. It certainly was beyond a portion of humanity defined in any in any angle, in any degree. It certainly was beyond just men. It was certainly beyond just a particular culture or society. And what I realized then is it was beyond humanity. So I don't have a lot to say about that, but I feel it will be significant in the decades and centuries perhaps to come. It is a wound that exists within other realms, other experiences or expressions of being. And to some degree, one can see that in natural systems that go wrong, or go, wrong's not the right word, that become unnatural. And usually that is because of some introduction of I don't know the words, sorry, not a biologist. A species is introduced that isn't a part of that ecology or whatever, something like that. So I became very aware that, whoa, it was way bigger. And then that took me back to this little annual report that I did for myself back in 2010, and then promptly put it in a drawer, right? And then lost it through the years. Because it was like, okay, I'll do this, but but I never shared, and I never, it's the story of my life. So it's 2016. I was sharing, I was doing the activations. I was definitely doing the healing work behind the scenes, and in a small way, with a few individuals, and seeking very much to come to my own understanding, which is still, I'm on the way with that, very much not anywhere close, right? But I was beginning to see the connectedness of it all, and how essential it was and is and remains to this day, which brings me to today, which is August the 23rd, 2024. I don't know, I don't see what can be done beyond each of us individually. Literally pledging, to quote the words of the Declaration of Independence, what is it? Our lives, our virtue, our sacred honor, or something like that, Tim. I'm sorry, it's my partner. He, every year on the July 4th, would read the Declaration of Independence. He was, and he loved this country in his own way. And I'm not going to speak to that here, but certainly in my country, the United States, and actually in many countries, I would say, what we are seeing is the clear evidence of how this divide that we have created through our actions, reactions, and reactions to reactions. It's an endless chain of separation. And I truly, honestly believe that the storms, collectively and individually, are now unavoidable, and there will be shipwrecks, and there will be impossible situations that seem impossible. But I believe in a God of miracles and a God of sustenance, and in the spirit of life and creation that will rise up to meet us on the way if we step out in faith. If we choose to actually lead from that lion-hearted love, if we choose to step forward in faith with the whole of who we are and the conviction of what we do know for sure, and we are willing to cut loose all these things that we have carried, all of the encumbrances in terms of the obvious falsities and the greed and the need for more, justification, accolade, achievement, etc. But beyond that, also understand the ship is going to wreck. one way or the other. Hopefully we will avert the rockiest of shores, and the ship will drift, and we will land on some strange island, and we will begin anew. And this will happen for many of us individually and on more collective levels, in groups, in neighborhoods, in communities, in cities and states and nations and regions. And our only hope is to keep hope alive, to know that no serpent that rises its head will have power over us, and to trust the whole of who we are, created to be in both the male or masculine aspects and the female or feminine aspects within each one of us, again, regardless of your gender or your sexual identity or anything else. It's inherent in life. It is a part of, what I believe Jesus taught. This one doesn't show up in the Bible a lot, although in a couple places it does, which is there are always the two. There's a hawk over there. There are always the two, and the two are one. And so when I talk about that, I've talked about the love between the poles. So I think of it more as a line that then is, of course, a circle. But I believe Jesus taught about it in his time, about the two as one thing. And it was just essentially the way that you are choosing to see. And there's a part of that that is vital to our reclamation, the radical reclamation of the whole of who we are in our true feminine nature and in our true masculine nature. And it is not one or the other. It is one and the same. It is a coming together, a unification that is necessary now in the individual and in the collective. And our desire in various groups and segments of anything, of gender, class, societal, political, our desire for one thing or the other needs to be secondary, and the primary does indeed need to be a reunification of all, a bigger tent, if you will. But that does not, what I'm not saying here is that any one individual group affiliation, they may talk about that more, but has that all sealed up? And so what I'm trying to say is that whatever storm is in your life, and there's usually a storm in most of our lives, some of us go through the storms early on, and some of us wait till the dead end of the story. Who knows? Maybe there are reasons for that. I have my theory, but in any case, that's irrelevant. But what is relevant, very relevant right now, is that we are not only at a turning point in history, human history, not just nation, state, some group that's falling apart. Aren't they all? Aren't all structures and systems dissolving? Isn't this a time of great dissolution? And in that dissolution is the solution. It was one of the videos I made back in 2015. That was the earliest one I think I made, right before the election in 2016. And I think it was in Ireland at that time, but the solution is in the dissolution. And as much as I do not enjoy I was very happy to see finally, oh my gosh, we're going to finally get real about something a little teeny bit, but now it's kind of hard to not be real. And if you're clinging to that, some kind of false reality or false self or false relationship or false society or false anything else, belief system, then there will be a shipwreck. It's inevitable. But after the storm and through the storm you will be held. And after the storm, you will see that you have been sustained. And then a little further after the storm, you will likely see a serpent that comes out of the fire, that you're just trying to stay warm, and boom, there's another thing. But that serpent cannot harm you. It will fall away, because life itself is not only on your side. Like the Rolling Stones are like, time is on your side. Yes, but guess what? Life is on your side. And you are here for this time of your life. And for life to be infused in time. That's what we're all here for. Is the full expression of who we are. We've come here for the experience, for this very experience, for the shipwreck if necessary. So if you are able still to avert the worst of the shipwreck, then do so. And trust always that you will be guided from within, and that you are light, and you are here to bring forward a particular play of light, and you are life, and you are here to share your essential story of life, because without that, someone else will not find life. And you are love, and you are here to be a grace-filled revolution of love, and to usher that in. Because trust me, and trust yourself, look around. If we don't all find a way to do that, then indeed, the whole of humanity will experience a shipwreck. And we will be on an island. I do believe in a God of grace, and I do believe that life finds a way. And I do believe we are now here and now, in a realm of radiance. And all we need to do right now is to see, to find a whole new way of seeing ourselves and those around us, to see beauty, to find a whole new way of being ourselves, and to allow others to find their whole new way of being. And in that wholeness, to be set free, and to honor the stories that each one of us has lived, and the value of those to the whole of humanity, to not discount one of them. And finally, to usher in what I love to call the revolution of love and the revelation of a mystery. It's all kind of the revelation of the mystery. To do that, we have to heal this brokenness, this absolute dead end that we have created when it comes to this force of will, and this. It's so extreme in my view at this point that I cannot even speak of it without using terms that are typically reserved for the worst of the worst, and I don't want to throw away or throw around. I don't want to throw away. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. I don't want to throw away the value, because, oh my gosh, that's what it's been about. Your value, my value, in that strength that I've had a hard time finding. And that some people, it was so taken from them that they never found it. And the cost of what we have done to one another, that I see clearly. And I do still believe there will be a reckoning for the whole of humanity. However, what we can do right now is to return together and individually to the light and the life and the love that we are, and to do our best day by day by day by day. And just for the record, I'm on this journey with you. I have had so many shipwrecks, and I no doubt will have another. And yet, I believe always in the miracle, in the moment, in the magical and the miraculous rooted in the ground, in the whole of who we are, as we are growing back toward the ground of God. This is our hope. It is the hope of humanity. It is the hope of all creation. We will find our way.